Hello, my name is Raina Gillen. I have been working in early childhood education field for about 10 years now, and I take courses in early childhood education and development. So this is going to be a training video on positive guidance and behavior management in the early childhood education classroom. So for starters, each participant is going to receive a handout of this brochure here. It's going to cover positive guidance in behavior management in the classroom. We're going to talk about the core principles of behavior management and positive guidance. We're going to talk about what we do not do in an early childhood program and how we can reframe conversations and communication to address positive guidance. And then we will talk about what positive guidance is, effective strategies that we can use in our classroom, supporting big emotions in the classroom, and why all of this matters. I'm going to be using this PowerPoint to work through everything that we will be addressing in this training video. So we're going to start with our training objectives. Our objectives are going to be to define positive guidance and behavior management, identify licensing requirements related to child guidance, demonstrate appropriate positive guidance strategies, apply behavior management techniques in classroom scenarios, recognize how AI tools can support classroom management and documentation, and use a daily checklist to maintain best practices. So what is positive guidance? I'm going to have you guys go ahead and pause the video and write down what you believe to be positive guidance. All right. Positive guidance for me is teaching appropriate behaviors, because all behaviors are a form of communication, and oftentimes challenging behaviors are just children that don't understand how to appropriately communicate their needs. So teaching appropriate behaviors, supporting social emotional development, encouraging problem solving in our students, and building respectful relationships. Arguably, building respectful relationships is going to be the most valuable piece of this course, because when we build trusting, respectful relationships with students and with families and with our coworkers, we create a healthy classroom climate where families and children feel valued and respected. And when you feel valued and respected, the challenging behaviors are diminished significantly. Why does positive guidance matter? As we discussed before, positive guidance improves the classroom climate. When children feel respected, they feel as though they can participate in the class and reach their fullest potential. It supports emotional regulation, because we are teaching children tools that they can use in order to regulate their emotions and be successful in the future. Reduces challenging behaviors, much in the same way. When we give children the tools that they need to communicate effectively and participate in their class, then challenging behaviors are reduced because they just know what the expectations are. Positive guidance also builds trust and security, as discussed before. This is incredibly important to the classroom climate. So now we've got licensing regulation. These are going to be quotes that pertain to positive guidance and classroom management, pulled directly from the Colorado Department of Early Childhood Education regulations. So we have got guidance at the center, must be appropriate for the development of the child, and is used as an opportunity to teach children social emotional skills such as self-regulation, problem solving, and empathy for others. Children are not to be subjected to physical, emotional harm, humiliation, or threats. These are not positive guidance techniques, and we must avoid those. The director must not use or permit a staff or person or child to use any type of corporal punishment. Guidance must not be associated with food, rest, or toileting, as these are needs of children. No child should be punished for toileting accidents. Food must not be denied to or forced upon a child as a disciplinary measure. Physical activity and outdoor time must not be withheld as a disciplinary measure, and separation when used for guidance must not exceed 5 minutes and must be appropriate for the child's development. Next, we've got appropriate versus inappropriate discipline. So for this section, I'm going to have participants pause the video after each section is presented, and you are going to determine whether or not you believe this to be an appropriate or an inappropriate discipline style for an early childhood classroom. So we're going to start out with redirecting. Is it appropriate or is it inappropriate to redirect a child? Next is going to be isolating. Is it appropriate or inappropriate to isolate a child in the hallway? Next is going to be taking a toy from a child who doesn't want to share. Is it appropriate or is it not appropriate to take toys from children that are struggling to share in the classroom? Next, we've got reminding. Reminding students to use their words. Is it appropriate or inappropriate to remind our students that the most effective way to communicate with each other and with everyone around them is to use their words? Next is going to be modeling. Modeling a difficult conversation with children. Do we model difficult conversations? Is that inappropriate or an inappropriate or appropriate form of discipline in the classroom? Next is going to be yelling at a child for hitting, kicking, or biting. Is this something we do? Is this appropriate or inappropriate? Next, we've got giving children options for how they can help us clean up the classroom. Is this an inappropriate or an appropriate way to direct a child to be an appropriate part of our classroom? And shaming. Is shaming students ever appropriate or inappropriate in the classroom? Now we've got role play scenario. For each of these sections, we're going to break into some groups and we are going to work through some role play scenarios and determine what we would do in a classroom situation if this were to occur in our classroom. So starting out strong, we've got children. Two children are building towers with blocks. One child takes the other child's tower, resulting in yelling and crying. Go ahead and write down what you believe would be an effective way to handle this scenario. This would be one of those moments where I would say that modeling appropriate behaviors is going to be extremely valuable for these students. So we have got one child that is very upset because their tower was taken by a friend. So I'm first going to approach the younger child or the child that had their toys taken, and I'm going to let them know that I hear them and that was not very fair and I'm very sorry that that happened, and we are going to work together to fix the problem. And then we are going to approach the child that took the toys and we're going to let them know, hey, it's not very kind to take our friend's toys. And we're going to give him some tactics as to how we can better handle these situations in the future. So we are going to let them know that our options are that they could ask nicely, and if our friend says no, we wait our turn. And if the other friend does not want to share long term, that is when we will discuss taking turns after a period of time of playing has been allowed. So we may set a timer so that the first child gets the opportunity to play with their toys and the second child gets an opportunity to play with it when they're done. Our next scenario is going to be that a child becomes frustrated and hits a nearby student during group time. Go ahead and write down what you believe you would do in this situation, and I will come back and address it in a moment. So as we discussed before, any type of behavior is a child communicating with us. And in this scenario, I would say that the child is lacking the skills that they need in order to appropriately communicate their frustration. So we would first approach the child that has been hit and let them know, ouch, that hurt. Are you okay? Is there anything that I can do for you? And then we would approach the other child and let them know hitting is not very kind and that's not something that we do. And they need to go ahead and apologize to their friend because that hurts. And then we would give them tools for how they can handle their frustration more effectively in the future. This may be breathing techniques, or this may be visiting the calm down corner in moments of frustration, or singing a song or reading a book. There are really many options for how we can redirect a child's frustration to teach them how to appropriately regulate their emotions. Next up on our list is going to be, it's time to clean up, and a student sits down and states, I'm not cleaning up. What exactly would you do in this situation? Go ahead and pause the video, write down what you think you would do, and then come on back. Refusal to clean up is pretty common in a preschool classroom, not terribly surprising behavior. But children oftentimes are just seeking some degree of control of their circumstances. So what I would do in this situation is we could make a game out of cleaning up. And maybe we throw the stuffed animals into their basket like we're playing basketball, or maybe we hop around the room and we collect the books and we jump like a kangaroo to put them back away on the bookshelf. Or I just give the child options. Do you want to clean up this while I clean up this toy? Or would you like to wipe down the tables while I collect all of these toys? These are all fantastic options and allow the child to feel a degree of control in their situation. Next up is going to be that a child drops to the floor and throws a tantrum during a transition from outdoor time to indoor learning time. Go ahead and pause the video again, write down what you think it is that you would do in this situation, and then come back and we will address it together. It is common for young children to struggle with transitions, especially when it is going from a playtime to a moment of learning. So something that we can do to encourage children to be a little more supported during these transitions is to make sure we are always giving them routines and we're letting them know what's going to happen before it happens. So letting them know that they've got 10 more minutes before it's time to go inside, and then we line up and we play a game. We could do a finger play game, we could do Simon Says, we could stand in a line and hop like a bunny, and we could play the silent game in line. All of these are options that are going to make transitions easier and more fun for the students. We can also let them know that we will get an opportunity to come back outside and play or finish whatever activity it was that they are so engaged in at the time. And another option is to be flexible in our routines. We can spend a couple more minutes doing something if children are really engaged in learning something at the time. Our next scenario is going to be that a child repeatedly shouts out answers and interrupts the teacher during circle time. How would you address this situation? So I love the phrase catch a bubble. And this is something that I would use in this situation. I would tell my classmates, all of my students, to catch a bubble in which they are going to catch a bubble in their mouth and seal it into their mouth. And then we're going to discuss, do we raise our hand to answer questions or do we just shout them out? And once we're all on the same page that we always raise our hands to answer questions, I'm going to have the children practice catching a bubble and raising their hand before answering a question. And that may be something that takes some time, but it is something that will eventually click and that we will get a handle on. So next up on our list is going to be ways that we can use AI in the classroom and appropriate forms of AI use in the classroom. I want to address first that AI is only appropriate in the classroom if we are not inputting any private information into an AI platform. However, things that you can use AI for are going to include building lesson plans. It can be incredibly useful for providing us with activities that we can use. We can seek engaging activities via AI because AI can search the entire interweb to find different activities, and then we can use those ideas to develop a lesson plan. The other one is going to be seeking templates that we can use for documentation. Sometimes it can be hard to develop your own documentation style, and the use of AI in this situation is certainly not prohibited and is not going to cause any harm to the classroom. So next we're going to have a daily checklist. These are the things that will be on the checklist to ensure that teachers can address the checklist to make sure they're using positive guidance. So on the checklist, we're going to have use respectful communication, maintain supervision, reinforce positive behavior, redirect calmly, support emotional regulation, communicate professionally with families. And then we've got some exit tickets here. And these are going to be the questions that I'd like you guys to answer for me before you leave the group. So number one is going to be, what is one positive guidance strategy you're going to implement in your classroom? 2, what is one new licensing rule you learned today? And 3 is, how can positive guidance improve classroom behaviors? Once these are finished and turned into me, we will address them and we will come back to address how these strategies are working in the classroom and hopefully make improvements if needed. And here is our reference page.